Hey guys, it's Lauren from Rustic Honey, and today we are cooking up something yummy, organizing my newest home decor find, and talking about how your habits can add up to the sweetest memories. Well, February is in full swing, and Valentine's Day is right around the corner. And as you can see, that means that we have gotten out lots of boxes to make our Valentine's Day boxes. Only thing is, I own my own business and I have a lot of large shipping boxes. So our Valentine's Day boxes look like they're just on steroids because that's the amount of, or the size of the boxes that we have on hand. So while that's keeping Reese busy this morning, I wanted to get started on some banana bread because we, for some reason, have four really ripe bananas in my refrigerator. I've been throwing them in there because I noticed no one was eating them. Bananas are one of those things at our house that I can either come home from the grocery store and my kids are begging to eat them right away, like when they're green. I'll make them wait a couple days and then they're just gone completely. They will eat them all right away, and most of the time I don't even get a banana myself. They just disappear. But there are other times I bring home bananas. I'm sure this happens at your house too. And then they just sit there and it's like no one's in the mood or something. So I often will just take the ones that are starting to get really ripe and I will put them in a little baggie in the freezer. And that way, whenever I want to make banana bread or a smoothie, they're already frozen and just ready to go. Because oftentimes you won't have three or four ripe bananas all at once. So that's a great way to do it. I like to keep them in the freezer for that reason. But for this week, I just happened to have them in the fridge, and I pulled them out thinking we will make our banana bread. That is a tried and true recipe around here and one that my kids love helping to make. We always have to smell the vanilla, get a little bit on our noses, but we love the smell of vanilla and sugar around here. I'm going to add in our butter. I will link this recipe down below. It has been on my blog for probably a couple years at least now, and I get messages from people all the time that they love this recipe for banana bread. So it's the one that I always make here at our house, and it's just so easy. It works whether you have 3 bananas or 5. It seems like it's just a really easy recipe to whip together. You're just going to start by blending those bananas together, add in the vanilla and a cup of sugar, let that mix, and then you do some baking powder, a little bit of flour, and I think I mentioned everything. I think that was it. It's a very simple recipe, and again, I'll link it below. And then just butter up a bread loaf pan, throw it in the oven. I will say the only thing that is hard, especially with kids, about this recipe is that it takes a solid hour to bake at 350. So we went through a couple chocolate chips just trying to keep Reese happy during the baking process because it smells so good, but it's such a wait time. While we throw that in the oven, I just whip together a little icing to throw on top. You could probably even call this bread a cake, and maybe that's why it's so good. But basically, I just use the rest of my stick of butter that didn't go into the bread. I melt it real quick, throw in a little vanilla on that too, and then about a half a cup of powdered sugar. It always looks like too much powdered sugar, but it always comes together. And then you can even do a splash of milk. That's what my original recipe calls for. Sometimes I use milk, sometimes I don't. Usually there's enough liquid to get it to come together, but that's kind of the consistency you're going for. And we're just going to set this aside and we'll put it over the hot loaf when it comes out, and it just kind of like seeps in and creates this lovely little icing crust around the outside. It's so good. So while that bakes, I am going to empty the dishwasher and put away these dishes from last night. It has been a busy week, and as you guys know, it's February now, so like all of the new habits that we talked about in the recent videos, they're starting to wear on us, right? They're not nearly as exciting. We're not nearly as motivated, but nonetheless, our home feels so much better when I just show up and do the things. And I'm not perfect. There have been many days this week that we've had paper on the counters, we've had dishes in the sink. It's been a busy week at work and at school, so there's just some things have to take the back burner. Perfection's not what we're aiming for, but I think just remembering that our homes feel so much better when we show up and follow through on our habits, even when we don't feel like it, like that consistency just really does make a difference. So doing things, one habit I didn't have in my video before, and I wanted to mention it here, was like taking care of things like this. My cabinets were so dirty because my kids like to climb on them to get what they need, and so inevitably they'll have muddy shoes on at some point. And with white cabinets, everything shows. those things often get the back burner. But if I notice something like that and I know it's going to take me less than 1 or 2 minutes, I try to just do it right then. I've really tried to work on that habit a little bit this year too. So I also had mentioned in a video about doing 1 load of laundry every day. And this week I had happened to be a little bit caught up because I did 2 loads on Monday. So even though part of me wanted to skip the process, I thought, 1 load a day, that's what I've committed to. And today would be a great day to just wash the sheets on this extra bed that we have. So things like that do add up, and it does make it feel nice. You feel like you're actually getting ahead. If you just stick with that routine and you're committed to it. And I was home this morning, so I thought, let's get it done. It always feels good when you see the fruits of your habits, like when you see it all pay off. And one thing that I stuck with last year was taking the time to journal every day. I use an app called Day One on my phone because it's super simple. You can set reminders if you want. And I basically I try to add a photo every day. It's not like an Instagram worthy photo, but it's just those little snapshots of our day to day, of my kids or what we're doing. And then I try to, honestly, I sometimes voice text, or I'll sit in bed and type out what we did that day and the little memories I want to remember, things my kids said. I'll put it all on my phone in this app, and then they actually have a membership you can pay for too. This is not sponsored, by the way, in any way, shape, or form. I just get so excited about these things. I wanted to share. But we can also print a book at the end of the year. So I've really been trying to do this at least once a week. And then at the end of the year, I will print the book. And it is such a special keepsake. I love that I have it in print form, but I also have it backed up in their cloud and their system. So if something were ever to happen to my books, I could reprint them. Same thing with photo books. I will say I have a hate-love relationship with photo books because they take more time than you think they ever will. I try to do this once a year. It's usually right after Christmas when I finally have a little bit of extra time. I will go through and do the year before. I'm laughing because I finally just got done with a baby book for my 3-year-old, soon to be 4-year-old. And if I wasn't pregnant right now with my 4th, I probably wouldn't have still gotten to it, but I was very motivated to get this done for her before the new baby comes. And so that trip down memory lane was super fun too. All of these little habits and investments are so worth the time, but it's just like holding my hand to the fire to get me to sit down and do those things. But when they come in the mail, I just love it. It's like happy mail day. Reese has been into making my coffee for me, and so I'm letting her help with the Keurig here. Every once in a while, I just want a little cup of coffee, and I feel like I'm getting towards the end of my pregnancy, really, and coffee is just now sounding good again. So I'm excited. I thought I was ruined forever because I'm such a coffee drinker, but this pregnancy, it has sounded horrible. So I've been enjoying a little mug here or there, or a little decaf every once in a while. So it's just a cozy little thing for winter, a little routine that I like. I have a million things on my to-do list, of course, this week, just between the home and my business and extra school activities. But Reese really seemed like she needed a little bit of extra mommy time today. So even though it's very hard for me to just sit still, I really enjoy making myself take a 10-minute break with her and just, having a good conversation face to face. It does both of us a lot of good. So, while we're sitting here taking our break together, I thought I would tell you about my recent purchase that I'm so excited about. I found a beautiful antique armoire on Facebook Marketplace. And at first I didn't think that it was going to go through, but I negotiated with the seller, and I'm the proud new owner of this antique piece. I am no expert, but I'm pretty sure this is a pretty old piece of furniture. If you know anything about it, let me know in the comments below. There's a little bit of a mesh there underneath the drawers, and it comes apart in a million pieces, which makes me think that's, how they used to make old furniture so that it would travel more easily. So I don't know. I'm guessing like 1895 because the doors on the inside say 95. So that's my best guess. It's a very solid wood piece for how old it is, but you can tell that it's had a little bit of wear and tear over the years, obviously. Every piece in the back comes off flat, and this was the hardest part for us to figure out. We were able to see it put together. We took it apart at the previous owner's home, And so that was helpful. Thank goodness they didn't have it in pieces when we picked it up, because it would have taken us longer to figure out how to put it back together. Because there's no numbers or anything. But the pieces are held together by little hand carved wedges. It's just so thoughtfully created. It makes you really appreciate how much thought went into furniture back when, compared to how disposable almost furniture is these days. I just really appreciate these older pieces and how solid they are. It did have the rods in the very top, although the previous owners also put shelving in it, which is exactly what I wanted it for, because in our old house, even though we've added on and have some newer rooms with closets, we don't have a whole lot of closet space, especially in the old part of our home. Our home was built in 1903, so there wasn't any closets originally whenever we had bought this house. So we've added some things, and pieces like this really help create some organization in our house. With our kids growing, we have extra blankets, we have extra games, we have all sorts of extras, and I'm ready to get them up off the floor. I've been pretty crafty with cute baskets and boxes to house our games and extra blankets, but I'm just ready to get them in more of a permanent home. So I'm excited to start putting some things in here and see how it's going to work space-wise. It would fit some baskets really nicely, and I'll probably do that at some point. Today, I'm going to have lots of extra space in it, which I like. You know, you want a little bit of extra room. I don't want to stuff it full of things just for the sake of stuffing it full. But it's just going to be some nice hidden storage for us. First, we need to check on our banana bread. Always stick a toothpick in there to make sure that it's done in the middle. Otherwise, you might end up with a sunken banana bread. This one needs a few more minutes. I would say, again, it's closer to about an hour by the time that one finishes. So Reese is going to help me fold up some blankets, and we are going to start moving some of our games into the closet in here in the dining room / living room. I did want to mention that I have been searching for a piece like this since probably last summer. So I've been very patient holding out for just the right piece. At times I almost budged and just went and got something because I was so ready for some organization or to have like a closed off cabinet in here. But I am so glad I held out, because this one I feel like fits perfectly with our home and the style I was going for. Plus, it's got tons of storage. It's like 4 foot wide and 6.5 foot tall. It's gorgeous. I just think sometimes the easiest thing would just be jump online and see what I can find that would fit the space. But at the end of the day, I'm more proud of these purchases because I honestly not only probably saved money, but I got a better quality piece that fits the time period of my home, and I know that we will enjoy this for years to come. So it is well worth the wait. It's just about being patient in the in-between. We had some random pieces missing out of all of the baskets and boxes, so it was nice to get those a little bit more reorganized. Get the puzzles and the the games with the small pieces I put on the very top shelf so that maybe mommy can help get those down so that we don't constantly lose all the little pieces. That is something that drives me insane for some reason. I don't know if there's any other moms out there that feel like they spend a whole bunch of time finding random things like that, little Uno cards and little pieces of puzzles and trying to put them back in the correct boxes. I've gotten a little bit more lax on that as my kids have gotten older, but it is nice to get them reorganized. It just makes my heart so happy. As you can see, I laughed because we have so many Melissa and Doug puzzles. I'm pretty sure almost every puzzle in our closet is Melissa and Doug. So if you haven't heard of those puzzles, I'll link them below. They are definitely the favorites in our family, especially this big farm one. It's well loved. We've used it a ton. So for the moment, this hutch will serve as a hub for blankets, puzzles, and board games for my kids. There is a ton of extra space still, so I'm excited to let that be for now. And eventually I might add some more baskets to really maximize the amount of storage that's going to be in here, but this is going to be a great piece. All right, now we need to finish off our banana bread. It is finally ready to take out of the oven after about an hour at 350. Now this is my favorite, most rewarding part of making banana bread, when you put the glaze over the top. We're gonna do it while it's hot. Again, like I said, this takes an hour to bake, so Reese was getting very impatient at this point, and I kind of was too. This is smelling so good at this point. It makes the whole house smell amazing, and I love a time lapse of this butter melting into the bread. It's glorious. Once it does, I would recommend letting it sit for a few minutes. You don't want to dive into it when it's too hot. So go organize something and then come back a few minutes later, and it is just the most delicious treat. Now today I just made my regular banana bread recipe. You can also add walnuts to this recipe or chocolate chips, but I let Reese do that on top afterwards. I will fight everyone in my family for the end pieces. I don't know what it is. Like, you don't really usually want the heel of the bread, but on this banana bread, I don't know, it's just the best piece. I think it's because the buttery icing seeps down on the side, so you basically get a piece that just has this glaze all around it, which you guys know at this point, if you've been here at all, that I love butter and sugar. And so that's probably why that piece is my favorite. But so if you want to add chocolate chips, you can totally do that before you bake it. But what I had Reese do was put chocolate chips on top of hers after it came out of the oven. It was still warm enough that it melted right into her pieces. So everyone got what they enjoyed in today's banana bread recipe. This entire loaf was pretty much gone at the end of the day after my boys got home from school. It is definitely a family favorite, one that my kids will probably remember as something mom made on the regular, and that's another thing I love about it. Creating those little memories with them and certain recipes that you go to all the time are more important than you think. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and I hope you have a wonderful Valentine's Day. We'll see you again soon.